Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of Creator Spotlight Season 2 from The Interface. Creator Spotlight is our new series where we talk to creators about what they make and do and how they got started. Today I'm joined by John Coupland, who is a car YouTuber, but focusing on old cars and specifically Protons. So welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. Yeah, so for people who don't know much about you, what's the main thing you do on YouTube? I know I mentioned Protons, but is it a lot of old cars or?
Yeah, so the YouTube side of things was a bit of a aftermath and an afterthought. I I'm a classic car guy. It's what I do in my spare time. I've got a massive collection of weird and wacky cars. Um, and I attended the Festival of the Unexceptional a few years ago and ended up winning it ridiculously. And people were asking me, "Oh, what's your Instagram? What's your Twitter? What's your YouTube? You must have some sort of platform." And I'm a bit like, "No, it just sits in the garage and I take it to shows." And it went bonkers. It really did. So many people were a bit like, "We want to contact you. We want to get involved. We want more content." So I got on Twitter. I had been on Twitter, but didn't really use it.
Yeah,
And then I started filming little videos of the cars in my collection, saying, "Hey, look at this," having a look around, and it sort of spiraled from there. From me then going out and physically finding cars purposefully for the channel, doing bits about them, and seeing what's worked, and it went from something like 200 subscribers on a few Proton videos, mainly in
yeah.
Malaysia. That was my viewing figures, the people in Malaysia, to this little niche group of people all over the world now who are subscribers who like my content, which is weird. I find it a really weird experience. Um, but actually, it's quite nice to just make these little videos, and there's lots of ideas that are going on in my head. Quite a creative person that I want to do, that I want to focus on, and it's a case of throwing stuff out there on YouTube and seeing what sticks, I suppose. Um, and the car stuff stuck.
Yeah, definitely. It's mostly, is it, so what other cars you have? Is it mostly Protons or is that, where's that fascination come from? Like,
It's a good question because I wish I could answer it. I am a magpie, is the honest answer. And if I've got 20 quid in my pocket, I will spend 20 quid on something that I think is nice and shiny. And when I get bored, I go on car websites and look at cars. And a couple of years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, my wife and I were getting ready to go on holiday. She was at work till 10 o'clock, and I was just sat waiting to go on holiday. And I found myself on one of the car websites, as you do, what's local to me, and found this Proton. Now, I'd never heard of Proton before in my life. And I saw the car and went, "That's cheap. It's in my budget. It's down the road." And I went and bought it, much to my wife's dismay. And I found out actually it was quite special in that there aren't many about. It was the last of its kind in that model, and then it sort of
mm,
spiraled from there with me going, "Hey, I quite like this brand," and people going, "Oh yeah, we forgot about that brand," and
mm.
it snowballed a little bit now with the. I'm trying this Proton Renaissance. I'm calling
Yeah, because
it.
Proton's still around, isn't it? I think they used to own Lotus, but I don't think that's there anymore. Or a bit weird.
it's it's a the way you've described it is wrong, but it's also right in a way. So Proton is the national car of Malaysia. The company started in sort of 1985. I think Malaysia and the Malaysian government wanted a national car. So they approached Mitsubishi, and with Mitsubishi, they sort of came together because a Proton, the underpinnings, is a Mitsubishi Lancer. Um,
Uh,
and then they came to the UK in sort of early '89 and left the UK. They were a cheap car. Things like Lada, Proton, and all that sort of thing. Uh, Daihatsu, Hyundai at the time were cheap cars from that sort of part of the world. Um, and they left in 2014 because of the European Union emissions and all that sort of thing. It was a bit messy. But as a company, then they're still going abroad. They're still massive in Malaysia. They're owned now by Geely, which is the big Chinese company
yeah.
who own loads and loads of firms and brands. But yeah, they sort of disappeared, and they're fast disappearing off the UK's roads. So I'm trying to keep that name alive a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like, I've got a guest on, Tom. He does a lot of videos on MG Rover.
Okay.
So we will have or have discussed about those. But yeah, it's definitely with some sort of more niche. Not that MG Rover's niche, but definitely older brands that have gone away. For example, there's some renewed interest in those, which is quite good. Especially especially for young. Like, I don't remember a time when those cars were around, and neither does Tom either. So it's weird to go back and have a look at cars that you don't remember. So
Which is interesting because I grew up around MG Rovers.
yeah.
Dad worked for the local Austin Rover garage, and so when I was a kid, I was going to go see him on a day. Then there would be all the cars in the car park, and that's probably why my car obsession has come to be. I've always been around cars, with Dad being in the motor trade, but things like the Rover 45, the Rover 75, the Rover 25, when they first launched, I remember being a kid. I say a kid, maybe 11, 10 years old, and Dad bringing one home. And for me, seeing that car was beautiful. That Rover 75, I can picture it now. It was a nice light blue. It got all the chrome trim. Uh, and I'd never fell in love with a car more. And I'd always said, that's it, I'm going to have a Rover 75. And so obviously I ended up getting two. But yeah, it's very interesting how these little acorns, hey?
Yeah, definitely. So with the, I think we discussed on how you got started making videos. It was more of a people that you've met requested it. What's that process been like for you? Because whenever I ask anyone who makes videos, it's always how did the audience respond to the videos? Is there a lot of good feedback of what you make, and then also what like the process is of making those videos? I'm always interested in how people make videos as well. So
I'm a very lazy person. So if I can cut corners and have the finished product be the finished product with as least steps as possible, then I will. I don't edit my videos. Nothing gets edited. I don't do fancy in-out stuff and all that sort of stuff. It's me with my phone, and a headset that I put in for a microphone to go, hey, here's the car look. Um, Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe people like the raw nature of it. I have a history in broadcasting, so I can talk to people, and I have a history of being in front of a microphone.
yeah.
So maybe people like my presenting style. I don't know. But it is just me having a chat about cars, and it's just an interesting thing. And I think the response I got was a good response or a better response to things that were a little bit raw
Hmm.
and a bit like, right now I'm going to try open the bonnet. Oh, I can't get it open. Hang on a minute. Put the phone down.
Yeah,
As opposed to
like
now,
cutting it.
now we're
Yeah.
going to edit it. So my process, exactly. So my process, for lack of a better term, is a bit rough and ready. I'm not going to be winning any awards for video editing or sound quality or anything like that. But hopefully the content is what people are there for. And I
Mm.
think that is what the people are there for. Interesting new content. For example, my smart car, I daily drive a smart car. Before Christmas, I went to go look at Proton. My smart car went bang, and I did a video just about, oh, my smart car's gone wrong. And the amount of people who wanted to see me chronicling the process and chronicling the progress of what I did to the car was unbelievable.
Hmm.
And I couldn't churn out enough videos to keep those people happy. Everyone wanted to see all the progress, and now I'm not doing that. Now the car's fixed. I feel a bit guilty that I should be doing updates on this little car. Um, but to answer your question, yeah, the process really is shoot, shoot, upload, and run. And then on to the next thing, and hopefully people like it. And if they don't like it, well, they can tell me, can't they?
Yeah.
Or they can switch it off. But touchwood, the follower base has been very good.
Yeah, doing it that way,
They've enjoyed it.
yeah, that's good. Doing it that way definitely it removes the amount of time that you'd have to dedicate to make it, which makes you more interested in doing it in theory. Right.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm quite a busy
Yeah.
person. If I'm not messing about with cars, I'm doing this. I've always got to be on the go. I'm not the sort of person who can sit down and have an evening in front of television and just do nothing. Much to my wife's dismay, because she could be lazy and spend a whole weekend on the sofa. But I've always got to have a problem on the go, or I'm at work, because I can't afford to keep a fleet of 18 cars on the road by not going to work. So I work long hours, shifts. My wife works long hours, and we've obviously got a house to run as well. So it is a luxury, I know. But I think if there was a long process behind it, if there was a long editing, and now I've got to record voiceover, excuse me, do this, that, and the other, I wouldn't enjoy it. And it would take up too much of my time. I think you can go down that rabbit hole of being a bit of a perfectionist as well. And I would go down that rabbit hole, and it would take me hours to do one video, and then I would hate it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not tech. I used to be really tech savvy. When YouTube first came, when we first got the YouTube, I remember signing up and had an account, and I uploaded little videos as a 15, 16-year-old, and they were mainly just messing about with some mates. And there was something quite natural about that. Now, obviously, YouTube is a business for many people. Fun fact, I don't know if you know Tom Scar, but I went to university with Tom Scar, who does the ASDF land movies and all that sort of stuff.
No.
And he went off his direction of everything being really polished, and I just went on my direction of I'm going to go and do what I'm doing. But yeah, it's something I enjoy. I do enjoy making the little videos, not only to document what I'm doing. I don't watch them back, but people enjoy them.
Well, yeah, that's the benefit of probably not editing. You don't have to watch yourself back. Because when I edit these podcasts, I watch it back once to make sure that, like, to cut all the stuff out. It is a bit. The first few episodes I did is a bit weird. It's like, oh, is that what I sound like, or is that what I look like, or it's watching it back. It's like, oh, did I really say that? Or so it's a bit bit strange, but yeah.
As you say, it's strange. Again, I have a history in broadcasting, so I've listened to myself back, and I know what I sound like, and I can modify what I sound like if I wanted to. But no, I make sure that it's recorded. I maybe skip through and go, right, it's done okay,
Yeah.
upload, and then 20 minutes later, someone will comment saying, there's some audio problem here. I'm like, oh yeah, there is some audio problem. Oh well. Sorry, guys, I know there's an audio problem. Hence the new microphone, I suppose. But yeah, no, I'm not gonna sit. Maybe I don't deserve the praise that people give me because I'm really lazy with it, or maybe, as I say, people just like the raw, natural style of going. I'm going to make a video now. Very rarely do I stop a video and go, "Oh, right, I've made a mistake there." Just keep going.
Yeah, it's yeah, you can sort of, as you said, you can sort of get very focused on perfecting all the little details and all the little fluff ups and stuff. It just takes too much time. I spoke to last year. I had Andrew Till on the podcast, Mr. EV, and he was saying he can't. Whenever he makes videos, he can't not do it like just perfection all the time. He just said it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. We're discussing how long videos take to make.
And I bet he spends hours editing his videos.
Yeah. He was saying it's sort of you can't not do it.
Fine.
So.
That's fine.
Yeah.
If people want to make the highly polished, beautiful, edited, fantastically lit backdrop videos, fine. But these people are doing it a lot more than me, and they're probably a lot more than me. And they look good, don't they? But for the average consumer who's consuming my videos, who are probably watching them on their phone, maybe before bed or doing whatever. No, I haven't got time for that.
No, it definitely sort of, if we're dealing with older cars, it definitely sort of lends itself to the thing you're filming. If it's more of a rough, ready video, it's sort of, I don't know, it's if you get what I mean. It sort of works quite well. Yeah, with the smart car rebuild, how long did that take to did the filming of that impede on your time it took to fix it, or no?
So I can't take the credit for fixing the car. I really can't. It was Mr. John Coupland Senior, so my dad, who is the mechanic. I can make things look good, so I can polish things and I can find parts and I can source really rare things that nobody else can find. That for me is the fun about the car ownership, by the way. The thrill for me is in the chase. And that's why I'm a bit of a magpie. The magpie thing is finding it and then having it and going, I've got that now. Now I know I've got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And maybe it's my technique. But no, it didn't. It didn't. And I wish that I had the ability to say to Dad, because the car was in his workshop, if I had the ability to say to Dad, look, don't do that bit because I want to film
Mm,
that bit of him maybe putting the engine physically back together, screwing it all together, putting the new stuff in. And I did say to him, look, I need you to photograph every step that you're doing just to document it. I like to document things. So I ended up getting him a smartphone purposefully so he could photograph uh, the process on the smart car while I was at work because he did a lot of it. And it did it. Honestly, it took him a long
mm.
time. From start to finish, sort of a month and a half. But again, that was sort of on and off and waiting for parts. There was a time where we were waiting 2 or 3 weeks for parts. But no, the filming didn't impede on that. And if it had, then it would. There would if I had the time to film all that content, it would have been fantastic content. It really would. To spend a night rebuilding a head of a smart car would have probably got thousands of views because a lot of people would want to see that. Um, but that's not what it's about. It's not about the views. It's not about getting the fantastic content um, for that reason. Um, Part of me is gutted that I missed out filming all that. Part of me is happy that my dad didn't spend 3 months fixing my car uh, in the freezing cold in his garage in Lincolnshire, and me not have my car. But yeah, it there were times where I've said, right, hang on a minute, stop, let me take a picture. Um, but no, there weren't times where I've said, right, don't do something because you need me there to film it. In an ideal world, he would have been clued up and tech savvy enough to film it for me, and then I would have taken the time putting it
Yeah.
together. Um, but sadly
Oh
not.
well. But yeah, it seemed to do. A lot of people on Twitter seem to like that progress I saw anyway. So that's good.
Yeah, and people were enjoying seeing the car. I think some people I spoke to, and I spoke to somebody yesterday who rang me and said, I feel like I know you. I feel like we're friends because we've obviously had chats on Twitter. Uh, People were rooting for this little car. They didn't care about me. They didn't care what I was doing. Um, they cared about this little car, I suppose. I think they felt like they knew the car and I was doing updates on the car. And you're always going to get some critics who are going to go, oh, scrap it. It's a load of
Mm,
rubbish. Oh, smart cars, blur. Um, but then the majority of people were saying really nice things about it. It was like, oh yeah, keep going. We want to see the car on the road. It's worth doing. And I did have to have a long, hard think about what was economical, and if it was going to be worth repairing. I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad we did repair it. I'm really glad that it's still with us, I
yeah.
suppose.
Yeah. One of the other more like well-known cars that you've got, I guess, is the Royal Snail van. I quite like that. That's quite funny.
Oh dear.
How did that come about?
I thought that wasn't the curveball you was going to throw me. I expected. I thought I was going to get a question about the Black Knight. My Royal Snail van. Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I love my snail van. How did it come about?
It's quite funny.
I was at work. Friend of mine on a friend of mine on Facebook posted it for sale on the marketplace, and I messaged him to say, "Do not sell that van without me coming to look." So I went to have a look, and he'd clearly posted very old photographs of the van because when I got there, it was green and it was falling apart. It was this and that. It had been off the road for a very long time. Um, they used it. His wife and daughter owned a dog grooming
Yeah.
business. They didn't need it anymore, and they got dogs. It was full of dog cages, um, and it just needed a little bit of TLC. And me being me, again, I'm a magpie, so I like to pick stuff up. I needed a van. I've always wanted a van.
They're
Vans are
useful. Yeah.
cool, right? You can just stick it in
Yeah.
the van. Yeah, useful commodity. Um, so I rocked up with this van. It was very cheap. It cost me £250. It needed some money spending on it, but where they'd had the dog advertising stuff on the van, it had ruined all the paint. It had previously been a Royal Mail van, so being in the Royal Mail red, So I thought I'd think outside the box a little bit. What can I do to cover up
Mm.
these squares where all the paint was basically off? Um, and so the Royal Snail was born. uh, yeah, it turns a few heads. It gets a little bit of a laugh. Um, there was a period of time, obviously, where the smart car, which was my daily commuter vehicle, was off the road, and I was taking my snail van to work every day, and everyone in the work environment, the office environment, was a bit like, who's the guy who's got the weird snail van? What's that all about? And I'd got like big bosses of the organisation I work with coming through and going, anybody know about a weird van, something to do with snails in the car park? And I'd be like, yeah, it's mine. But it turns heads. And actually, just today, I was driving down the road, and one of our local posties waved at me and bipped at me, thinking it was his mate. And then he looked. You could see the look on his face was a bit like, as I went by, I was like, "Who's driving? Who's driving that?" But yeah, no, it certainly turns heads. And it's a bit of fun,
Yeah.
um, and it's useful. It's a useful van. It's full of proton parts now.
Yeah, definitely. Vans are quite very underrated. They're very useful to have around for all sorts of things. You briefly mentioned, I didn't realize this, but you briefly mentioned you had like 18, was it 18 cars you said? I didn't realize that.
Yes,
What's the,
yes,
do you want to just run through
yeah.
what they are?
Well, we've got.
No,
I
I don't
won't
have
go
to
through
go for all
all
of
of
them, but
them, but so mainly
yeah.
protons. Obviously, there's a large collection of protons. One has just left the collection. That's a secret you didn't know about, or nobody knew about. One has just gone. Somebody managed to prize one out of my hands. So at the moment, I've got one, two, three, well, five protons, and then the rest is just weird and wacky stuff, which are mainly all chronicled on my YouTube channel, which I'm sure people will be able to find. Um, but yeah, I've got my earliest car in my collection is a 1949 Armstrong Siddeley Lancaster, big old war
Yeah.
post-war car. Uh, it's like an old wedding car. If you was
Yeah,
to
yeah.
picture in your mind what an old wedding car is, there's only about 4 or 5 of them left on the road in
Mm.
the UK. There's a few more that are sort of sat in hedges that are waiting to be restored. But this one is one that I bought blind during
Yeah.
COVID and panicked for a bit because my wife came through and she said, "Why have you just sent X amount of money to somebody that you don't know for a car that you've never seen?" And I was like, "Oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine." Anyway, two sleepless nights later, it finally arrived. But I did
I'd
panic for a
imagine.
minute that
Yeah.
I'd been scammed. Um, Yeah, as I say, the smart car. Obviously, you know about the snail van. I've got a couple of old Audis, um, and I like Nissan Micras as well. Much to people's dismay, the
Oh,
K11,
yeah.
the bubble shaped ones, um, they were that was my first car. I had a 1994 M-Reg, uh, M278 OMO, which was my first car, and then I had another one, and then I've just bought. Say, I just bought about a year ago. I bought another one. Um, But no more cars. I'm not allowed anymore. There's
Yeah.
not enough space. Uh, I've got a Proton that I'm stripping for spares at the moment. That's going. And then I've got a friend who wants to buy something. He's just coming back from Korea. So I'm going to lend him something. But he'll come back. But yeah. But yes, it's
Yeah.
a problem, isn't it? I didn't. You didn't realise there was that many
No.
in the collection.
Oh,
The collection has significantly reduced as well. There was a lot more at one point. We did hit over
jeez.
20.
It's a bit like Alex Kirsten. He's got
Yeah.
loads of cars now. I don't know if you've watched his stuff, but yeah. No.
Not for a while.
Yeah, he's
But
got absolutely tons of cars, but
the
yeah.
first, normally, the question people ask me when I say, "Oh, I've got," because we got up to 28. When we got down to 18, they were like,
Hmm.
"Where do you keep them all?" And that's normally the first question. And the answer is, I'm really fortunate. I've got some land in Lincolnshire, and I
Yeah.
can put them there. Um, but if I lived in the city, if I lived in Lincoln, Peterborough, Wakefield, London, then I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to keep them where I keep. I'd have to have some sort of area. Um, I don't look forward to the day that my wife says she wants to move because I will have to either A, downsize, or B, find
Mm.
somewhere for all cars.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's
What do you
so
drive?
a bit like you. So my first car has influenced what my interests are. So my first car was a Volkswagen Up, one of the very basic ones, and that influenced my neck. Yeah, it's really good.
Cars.
And then my next car was the Up GTI because I saw that. Well, that's what I got now. I saw that all in the magazines when it was announced, and I thought I have to have that. So as soon as I could get one, which was quite hard, because they took it off sale twice, and then they took it off
Oh,
sale
right,
for
okay.
emissions, and then while it was off sale, I just went out and bought one. But then right after I bought it, the price went up by £7,000. So luckily, I got one at a good time. So
Well, you're laughing then all the way, especially as you say with the prices of second-hand cars have shot straight up. Um,
yeah,
and I've shot myself in the foot a little bit with my Protons in that I was initially able to pick them up for a few £100s, and now people are a bit like, "Oh, Protons, yeah, they're cool, aren't they? Yeah, let's get a Proton."
hmm,
And now I can't get one for sort of less than £1,000, a good one. Um, my
uh,
little Proton Renaissance has sort of shot my little enterprise in the foot a little bit, but it's good though because obviously people are enjoying them, and if you're spending a lot more on something, you're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, look after it a bit
yeah,
more than if you were spending a couple of £100 on a banger.
yeah.
Nice.
You'd hope so. Yeah, yeah. It's the same with like MG and Rovers as well. It's in the older stuff, like as you mentioned, the stuff from the early 2000s. They've gone up in price by a lot as well. So yeah, it's unfortunate for people who are interested in those cars, but yeah,
I purchased a Rover 45 a year and a half ago. It was £300. It was a really good buy. I sold it for £1,000, and the guy now is selling it for £1,500 because it's
yeah,
worth. And he's put sort of like 20,000 miles on the clock in the year and a bit. So, and it's still worth £1,500. Um, but
yeah,
like I say, hopefully, if people are paying good money for these cars, then they're going to look after them. Fingers crossed.
yeah. You'd hope so. Yeah,
Yeah, I hope so. I'm a bit weird.
yeah, um, yeah. Um, in terms of things you got come up on the channel, is there anything
That's a really
you
good
can
question.
share that you think you've got working on, or is
That's a really good question. Literally, before we've recorded this, I have just uploaded a video. Um, there is, I do this little thing that was like it was been in my head for a long time, which was virtual classic car shopping, which is my own version of reaction videos, I suppose, which is where I look at cars that are for sale and we discuss what they are, have a look at them, and I've now got it so you can see me in the corner. Um, I've just done a Proton
sure?
special one. From that, I have identified potentially a Proton that I'm looking to buy. I'm getting some more information sent over this weekend, and it might be a little bit of a road trip. So there will obviously be videos on that coming. Um, there's lots of things that I'm hoping to do this year that are not car related. My wife and I just came back from Mexico. We did a travel blog that went really well. Um, as in, lots of people are
That's good.
enjoying that content. There might be some content from theme parks. I'm a big theme park person, um, and just a little bit of this and that. Have I got big plans? No. Um, I'm going to start filming car shows that I attend, I believe, if I can be bothered,
Mm,
which is literally just picking out the highlights from the show. So, not like a whole thing of me getting the car, me going,
yeah, yeah,
sort of thing. But starting to just look at some interesting cars at car shows. I had a busy year last year where I didn't really get to many, apart from the festival and exceptional and a few locally. So I'm going to try and document those and do a little blog about those. And then I've got some home projects ongoing, like building projects and my ethos in life is go big or go home. I don't do things by halves. So I really, if someone says, "John, can you build me a path?" I will build you a path with fountains going over it, pagodas and lights. Not just a path. So there'll be hopefully some documentation of that sort of thing. Who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
Who knows what's coming? Um, the world works in mysterious ways, and if I think it's going to be good content, I will now point my camera at it, which previously I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got some exciting stuff up here. Whether or not I can get it out there is a different matter. So we shall see. Watch this space.
Yeah, definitely. The content of people looking at cars online, looking at which ones you should buy and shouldn't buy, that's useful actually, because a lot of people just don't know what to buy online. So
I look at it this way. If I've got a spare hour, will probably have a look for cars on the internet because it interests me. And
yeah,
if other people are interested in me looking at other cars and discussing them and talking about what you should or shouldn't buy and if it was interesting or not, then why wouldn't I capture that at the same time as I was doing it?
yeah,
So.
yeah, it's good. Just before we wrap up, have you got any? I make a point of asking people if they got any advice for other people looking to make YouTube videos. Have you got any advice for anyone else looking to make similar sort of content on YouTube or anything on YouTube really?
That is such a hard question, and that is such a massive spectrum of what we could answer. The way you've asked me that question is as if I am a YouTube content guru. Just a bloke with a camera that's got loads of cars and too much time. What would I suggest to people? Be yourself. Don't try and copy. I saw someone recently. I think he was trying to be Mr. Beast. Don't be that person. Be yourself. People will find you more charismatic if they are getting the real you. Don't worry about if something doesn't work or if something gets terrible views or reviews. Fine, you've tried it. Move on. Don't worry about what people are saying in the comments unless they're saying things which are creative, such as, hey, you've got a microphone issue, or hey, why don't you try this? And if someone's saying, oh, I don't want you to talk about crappy old protons, blah, 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 who is this person?
Yeah.
They've watched your video and they've commented on your video, so they've clearly taken time out of their day to get your content. The way I look at it is they're putting view counts on my views, whatever, and enjoy it. Don't let it consume your life. Enjoy it, and if something works, stick with the things that work. Try it. If something doesn't work, suck it up and move on.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Always be on the lookout to try new content. Don't be afraid to try something. And if you think it's going to make good content, throw it. And if it sticks, excellent. Happy days. You never know. Your next great idea that you've had on the bus to film something might be the next big YouTube sensation and shoot you up there. And you could be hitting your 6-figure view count every month. And just remember me, little old me, sat in my field in Lincolnshire with all my protons, and send some viewers my way.
All right, thanks, John, for being on the Creator Spotlight. It's been good to have you on to chat about all things Proton and all the cars you own. Where can people find you if they want to follow you online?
Thank you for having me on, first and foremost. Sorry if I've bored everyone with about protons. I am on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the TikTok. I've got to call it that because I'm old. And obviously YouTube. It's John Coupland, which is Jon, all one word. So if you look for John Coupland, you'll find me on Twitter, again, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you see somebody that looks like this talking about a car that looks like a box, then you're in the right place.
Yeah, I'll put all the links down below for people who want to find that. So that's great.
Excellent.
Yeah. Again, thank you for joining me. It's been good to have you on.
Thanks for having me on.
Bye.